So thank you very much for being here and for hopefully you guys are going to be participating and joining this workshop a lot. I'm Erica. Also here with me today is my colleague Clara.
Hello.
We work for Europe Language Jobs, which is the company hosting the event. We would also like to thank our sponsors, Fujitsu and Saito Portugal, for, of course, making this event possible. And a huge thanks for Eli for being here today. And he's going to deliver an incredible workshop, guys. You versus you. I really hope you enjoy. Eli has been working in the professional services for 4 years and helping clients improve their business decision for a while. So he has a lot of really good and wise insights for you guys. So I pass the word for you.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you today. We're going to be covering such an important topic. It's something that is truly universal, right? Everyone feels this aspect of resistance. You feel you need to get something done. But yet every single time that this thing comes up that you need to do, there's this pull that grabs you and brings you back. That's like, maybe I'll do something else instead, right? Or it could be resistance can show up in so many different ways, and we're going to discuss this relationship that we have with resistance, how to enhance it, and really how it relates to the impact and the momentum you can gain in an effective job search. So I'm not going to give you my name yet, even though you know it. I'm not going to tell you my career identity, right? I'm not going to tell you who I am in life, the stuff that I do or the titles that I've had. What I am is I am enough. I am capable. I am in control. I am kind. I am loving, right? I am all these things before I put a label on my identity. And I hope you are too. So, this idea of I am, these are words of creation. What we say after I am is what we become. So when you say things like, I am never going to get this job, I'm not going to be able to add value, I'm so clumsy, I'm lazy. And sometimes you don't know that maybe you're not saying them, but you're thinking them. And maybe you don't even know that you're thinking them because it's become such a routine pattern, right? So it's going to be really important that we hone in on this idea and concept of I am and how you speak to yourself. We're going to talk a lot about this today, right? But now that I told you who I am truly, my name is Eli Bohemond. For my job, I'm the founder or co-founder of Your Career Strategy. I'm an international career coach and a recovering management consultant. I launched my career in professional services with a degree in accountancy here in the United States in Washington, D.C. After 4 years, I realized I am just padding the bottom lines for billion-dollar companies, and that didn't feel good for me personally. So what I ended up doing was I looked at the things I did enjoy, and I found that actually supporting people in their professional growth and development, providing mentorship, and giving people the space and the tools and the resources to be able to grow, not just in their careers, but in their life, was something that I really, really enjoyed and got a lot of fulfillment from. So I spent the last 7 years changing my career, and I had 5 different careers on this journey. And yeah, I worked in business development. I worked in higher education at Holt International Business School. I supported thousands and thousands of job seekers across 120 different countries to land jobs in 90 countries with usually a 92% success rate. My work had brought me back to the United States about 3 years ago. I ended up leading the career coaching team at WeWork's Flatiron School. It's a coding boot camp. Coding, data science, UIX design, cybersecurity. And we had 800 students when I started. A year and a half later, we grew to 3,500 students, 100 career coaches, and we were placing people in their first jobs in tech all over the world. And that was also at a 92% placement rate within 6 months. So my hope is all of this stuff, has led me to starting my own career coaching practice with one of my business partners and mentors, and doing a lot of private one-to-one coaching and supporting job seekers, much like you, in an international setting to level up, to really look at yourselves in a way that's going to help you grow. And not everything is about your CV. Not everything is about how you answer interview questions. Everything really starts in here. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today. You can Google all different types of things about your resume, about your cover letters, about work authorization, but only you can do the research about what you say to yourself. And hopefully, this conversation today and this workshop will catalyze your awareness around that. So, we're going to have this agenda today, and it's going to be a shared thing here. So, if you're on your phone, turn that thing off, right? If you're not sharing your video, just put it on, because if your video's on, you're going to engage more. You're here for a reason, so you might as well just be here, not be surfing the web, and not be doing something else, because we can't really multitask as humans. Everyone's like, oh, I can multitask. You can't. You can't. Focus your attention on one thing, right? And we hope that you'll focus your attention here. So, one, can you trust your inner critic, right? And what is this voice inside of ourselves that tells us we aren't enough? We're not going to get that job, right? Where does that originate? And how does it represent itself in our life? And really getting a better relationship and understanding of that feeling of resistance. And once we know what it is how do we get to the other side of it? How do we build habits that help us quiet this idea of resistance and push to grow, right? And then hopefully at the end, we're all going to share some actions that we can take immediately that will ultimately help us overcome this resistance. So before we get started, let's take a poll. And in this poll, we can answer in the chat, okay? You're going to answer with a 1, a 2, or a 3 based on the answers to these questions. So which sounds like the way you most usually talk to yourself? 1, I love myself and I appreciate where I'm at. I'm on the right path. Everything will work out the way it's supposed to for me. I am going to trust the process because I am capable and brilliant. All right? Do you talk to yourself like that? 2, nothing works out for me. I keep hitting dead ends and I never see the results from the effort I'm putting in. It's not fair and I'm just tired. Okay? Or is it 3? This pandemic is making it impossible to find work. Oh well, I guess I tried today. I wonder what new stories are on my social feed since I checked 30 seconds ago. Or maybe I'll watch one more episode of that series. Which one of these sounds like the way you talk to yourself? And I know I'm asking you to be vulnerable and sharing in the chat, but that's okay. It's a safe space. Plus, no one can see what's said in the chat in the recording. So, okay, seeing some 2s, some 1s, some 2s. Try to be a 1, but I slip into 2 and 3. I love that, Ruth. Awesome. Yeah. Sometimes we come up, I think we talk to ourselves in all these different ways, right? And the goal really is to lean more on this one type of language, but we're very much conditioned most of the time through society, through our education systems, through our upbringings with our families. Everyone here is from a different culture, but honestly, there's lots of pressures that come from families, lots of pressures that come from society, which then cause us to talk about ourselves in these types of ways. So, wow. Yeah. Positive in the morning, and as the day progresses, we start getting more negative. I can relate to that, right? Who can't? Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. So, knowing this aspect and becoming aware of this language, we want to start considering questions, right? So the first thing we can ask ourselves is that thought true? There's this thing that we have that we do, right? It's called metacognition. Metacognition, it's thinking about thinking. It's the observation of thought, right? So when you are saying these things to yourself or thinking these thoughts, there's actually your consciousness that's within yourself that can take a 10,000 foot view and just observe the thoughts that are happening. So when you're like, oh man, I'm not gonna like nothing's working out. No one's gonna hire me. I haven't heard back, and maybe it's because I suck and no one likes me, and I don't have a good enough CV, and whatever it is, right? All of a sudden, 30 minutes go by, and you're just like, what just happened? I'm in a really bad mood now because that thought triggered an emotion, which then triggered a mood, which may last for a while. But if you can actually tap into this observer that all of us have inside of ourselves, we're going to be able to say, oh, why am I thinking that I'm not good enough or that they don't want me? Right? Where's that coming from? I love this quote. It's one of my favorite quotes. I've lived through some terrible things in my life, some of which actually happened. It's Mark Twain, famous American author and honestly a philosopher. And what's interesting is we end up worrying so much about things that never come to fruition. These fears are oftentimes ungrounded. And this concept of fear is really important because that is really what's holding us back. And that's really where a lot of these thoughts may be stemming from. So once we are able to identify that thought and be like, oh, I am thinking right now a lot of negative stuff. Okay, where did that thought come from and what emotion or reaction did it produce? So I'm not going to get the job. Well, that makes me scared. That makes me scared that I'm going to fail in something yet again. And when I used to fail before, I would get yelled at, or people would think I wasn't good enough or smart enough. Right? Okay, but is that true? Well, no. I've applied to many other jobs. I've gotten callbacks. So maybe it's just something with their process, right? So it helps you work through whatever's going on, but you have to be able to observe the thought. And then you need to ask yourself, am I pleased with the outcome from that thought? Am I happy that I'm really scared now and I have this underlying fear? No. Okay. Well, what is within my control to shift that outcome? Well, I can maybe, do a little bit more research, maybe reach out to someone within that company and see what's going on with the hiring process. What's the culture like? Maybe I'm not even going to like it. Maybe it's not the right role for me. Maybe I should be able to make those decisions myself. Maybe I'm going to spend more time reworking my stories and the narrative that I tell on my resume, in my pitch, on my cover letters. Maybe I'm going to post more on LinkedIn. Maybe I'm going to write an article that shows my knowledge in this area so I can share it with others, right? There are so many things you can then action that put you back in control versus spiraling thoughts, right? So let's just keep this in mind, this idea of going back to the questions. Now let's go into our voice, right? This inner critic versus an inner nurturer. So when I think of an inner nurturer, I think of not everyone's going to think of their mother because mothers can sometimes be pretty tough. But most of the time, you're going to think of like just the way you might talk to a friend who's going through a hard time, or when you see a kid crying that's hurt, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? And they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, you're going to be okay. Like, you can get through this. Or your friend is like, oh, this, I'm not good enough, I'll never be good enough. And you're like, yes, you are. Yes, you are good enough. You can totally do this, you've done this before, this before, this before. And then all of a sudden, when we're all of a sudden being hard on ourselves, we're having emotional reactions. We're just like, oh yeah, you're a total jerk. Like no one's gonna hire you. Like, yeah, like you never finish what you start. This is so you, right? How rude is that to do that to ourselves, but then we don't do that to other people? So you got to check yourself, right? Everything positive starts with self compassion and encouragement of the self. You have that power. You just need to give it back to yourself. But the inner critic, it's not always bad. These fears that come up, they keep us pushing forward in ways. They keep us feeling challenged. They also help us acknowledge like where we might be wrong and what we can do to set things right. But for the most part, I'd say 80% of the time, the inner critic just chatter, just nonstop. Like, oh no, Like, this isn't going to work out. Nah, this is probably not going to, it's not going to be for you. There are others that are better than you. Well, look at your peers. Look at your peers. They just got a job at Amazon. They just got a job at Google. They just got a job at Facebook, and you have the same degree. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Right? Nothing. The main thing that's wrong is that you talk to yourself that way versus building yourself up. So what we need to do is understand this idea of resistance, and it appeases our ego because it keeps us in a place of fear, which means we're not going to grow, which means we're going to be comfortable, right? So if you think of the concept of resistance like a rubber band, when a rubber band isn't stretched, it's actually pretty comfortable. It's not going to snap. There's no fear of it snapping. It's just sitting there. But once you start pulling it, you're like, okay, oh, is it going to snap? I might hurt my hands. But actually, after a while, you realize, okay, it's actually pretty durable. And now when I let it go, it actually is a little bit wider and longer than it was before. Growth is like that. When you push through these moments of resistance and stretch just a little bit more, and you still haven't snapped, well, now you've just grown. But if you're afraid to go with the resistance, and then you just say, well, it's better I don't stretch this because it's uncomfortable and I'm afraid of what might happen, well, you're not going to grow. So just keep that in mind when those feelings come up. Let's get some engagement. I've been talking too much. So how, audience, do we combat resistance? What are some things that you do personally, if you do them, that help you push through resistance? Let's answer in the chat, or actually, if someone wants to speak, unmute yourself and talk to me, talk to us about how you combat resistance. No one? No one wants to chime in? I'd love to hear from you. I would really love to get some conversation going.
Having a accountability buddy, someone who's accountable for you for your actions.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That's a good one. The question is, how do you combat resistance? How do you push against resistance? Sonia complains and complains. Okay. Voice the concern, voice it, keep it at the forefront, right? Maybe that's healthy. Maybe there's a better way to do it. We'll see. Mar, through sports. Sam, just keep swimming. Sam, what do you mean, just keep swimming? Like actually swimming or keep pushing forward? Sam, no pressure, but if you want to unmute and just kind of share what you mean by just keep swimming, that would be so cool to hear. No pressure.
It's the quote from Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. Just keep swimming. It means keep pushing forward. Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. At times I think of times that I faced difficulties in the past to accomplish a challenge, and then it makes me think I can do this as well. Oh, hell yeah. You know, what better way than to look at moments of success to push you forward? Take a vacation and spend time with myself. That's beautiful. It's tough to spend time with ourselves. Yeah. Try giving myself a pep talk. Awesome. Get yourself out of the dumps. Should focus away from bad experiences. Walk and pray. Yeah, absolutely. Pause, plan how to move forward. Thinking, what's the worst that can happen, and realizing it's not that bad. Yeah, catastrophizing is what we do, right? This catastrophizing term. I learned it in cognitive behavioral therapy when I was going through my own anxieties. And we tend to think of our worst case scenarios all the time. And if you're just like, well, what's the worst thing that can happen here? Oh, well, that's not so bad. What am I afraid of in the first place? Everything is an opportunity to learn. Yeah. Yeah, we don't really fail, do we? Failure is a mindset. We just learn. This is great. This is really great stuff. We have some pretty evolved thinkers in this group from all over the world. Some really, really conscious souls here. So exciting. So I think the best way to combat resistance is to become aware. Aware that you're even feeling resistance in the first place. Let me paint a picture. So resistance is really like climbing a mountain, much like the one you see here in the picture, but we can't see it, right? So in life, we're just like walking and all of a sudden we start stumbling and we keep falling back and we're getting hurt and we don't know why and we're getting emotional. And it's because actually you've been trying to climb this huge mountain in front of you and you don't even know you're doing it. So we're going to continue to fall until we actually understand that we have a mountain to climb, because the journey up is hard, but falling back, you just let go. It's easy. And you're going to land in a big pile of snow and you'll be okay. So you really need to, one, become aware that I'm feeling this resistance because there's this mountain in front of me. Well, why do I want to climb this mountain anyway? Right? So get back to your why. Why am I doing this? Why am I applying for this job? Why am I completing this resume? Like, why do I need to get this done? Why am I preparing for this interview? Why am I doing this research? Why am I taking the degree that I'm taking? Why do I want to work in an English speaking country or somewhere else, right? Why? Okay. You see the mountain and you understand why you're climbing it. Now you know, okay, well, it's going to be one step at a time. So where does my foot go first? Okay, well, let me open up my word processor. That's one foot. Let me write my name. One hand goes here, right? Everything is a step as you climb this mountain. And sometimes you're going to reach a point where you take the wrong step. So instead of just like, oh no, and then falling back, because you're going so slow, you can just say, all right, actually, that's not going to work because I don't have somewhere else to step. So let me try this way. And you give yourself the space to really reflect and be present in the moment on the awareness of this resistance that's coming up. And you get to climb this mountain, a very big mountain. We climb many mountains in our lifetime, right? So understanding all of this will give you the space and the energy to get to the top, knowing that you're going to summit many, many more mountains in your lifetime. It's rarely about reaching the summit. And it's really about going and continuing to push yourself to climb new mountains, to grow. All right. So my question now for this group is, how does your resistance manifest? Meaning, when resistance does show up for you, how does it show up? What do you end up doing when you feel this resistance? Does anyone want to unmute themselves and share? Or like before, you're welcome to put your answer in the chat. For me personally, I might go and check social media, right? That's something I might do when resistance comes up. Okay, Rena, procrastination, catch-all term, right? That is really what most of us do. Watch a movie. What else? What else comes up for you? How does resistance manifest for you? Stress eating. Yeah. Who else gained 19 pounds during COVID-19 like me? So, sleep, take naps. I fight in social media with a bunch of strangers. That's the best answer of the day. That's awesome. Play games, okay? Video games, computer games, board games, Netflix, and gain 20 kilograms in COVID. Yeah, I know, all of us. All right, so things come up, right? Things are coming up. Maybe we make excuses, we procrastinate, just zone out, right? Be empty and just look at the view outside. I love that. You might give into feelings of anxiety, just like, and just sit there and just shake. I've been there. Prioritizing something else. Oh, well, maybe I'll just clean. I need to clean the house. And it's like, no, you don't. You need to do this other thing. Reverting to a more comfortable activity, Netflix, sleepiness, nap, right? Go outside, avoid tasks. Yeah, totally. All these things, right? So I want to discuss something, right? Let me read this. So it actually turns out procrastination is not typically a function of laziness, apathy, or work ethic, as it is often regarded to be. It's a neurotic self-defense behavior that develops to protect a person's sense of self-worth, right? I'm not worthy. I'm going to fail, right? So I'm not going to do this thing. You see, procrastinators tend to be people who have, for whatever reason, developed to perceive an unusually strong association between their performance and their value as a person. This makes failure or criticism disproportionately painful, which leads to natural hesitancy when it comes to the prospect of doing anything that reflects their ability, which is pretty much everything. So what this means basically is understanding when we're feeling procrastination, checking ourselves on this resistance. It's more of like, yeah, what am I afraid of? Am I afraid that I'm not going to perform well? Am I afraid that my value won't be appreciated for what I know it's actually worth? Oh, but my value is so diminished because all these people have said negative things to me, or I have messed up in the past, so I don't want to mess up again because I know how bad that felt. Well, listen, now you know you're climbing a mountain. And you can take one step at a time, because if you go one step at a time, you're not going to fail. And even if you do fail, you're just learning. So is it really that bad? I'm going to give you some tips and some tools, and I'd love to get a little bit of engagement here too. So if you change your language and you change your responses to cues, and I'm going to talk about what cues are, you're going to be able to really change your habits and behaviors. So have you ever been around someone and who's trying to quit smoking, and they get offered a cigarette, right? And 2 days ago they told you, they're like, make sure I don't smoke. Okay, I'm asking you to tell me if you see me tempted to smoke, tell me don't, right? And then someone gives them a cigarette and offers them a cigarette, and they say, oh no, I'm trying to quit smoking. Instead, if you turn it around, right, you're tying your success to the result of what you might achieve versus tying it to your identity. Oh no, I'm not a smoker. That's a lot more powerful. You're using the I am affirmation, right? You're tying it back to your identity. Long term, I don't smoke. I'm actually healthy. My breath doesn't smell bad. My beard doesn't smell. Maybe someone will want to kiss me and I won't put them away with bad breath, whatever it is, right? When you identify with the change that you want in the language that you use, all of a sudden, it becomes easier to form that habit of not smoking. So let me ask the group to just reflect on things that you say sometimes, right? Like, oh, I need to lose weight. Okay, like I'm gonna try to like eat less, or I don't exercise enough. I should probably get outside and run. So in the chat, or if you want to share, what are some things that you currently say to yourself that you can start saying differently? It's really helpful if you write them down and share, because it holds you accountable. So that's why we're doing this exercise.
I think we all need some time to think on that one.
Yeah. Rena's a sweet tooth. But now she says, I don't like sweets. Yeah. Okay. I am not capable. Okay. What can you say instead? What can you say instead? Okay. I will start this in 1 month when I have free time. Yeah, Josephine, just take the not out of there. Awesome. Ahmed, I'm going to start this in 1 month when I have free time. Okay, well, get on your calendar and block that time. Even if it's 1 month from now, go put an hour of time there. And so the thing is, like, when you block time and you do stuff like this, you actually also have to associate. It's like, I'm going to do this task at this time in this place. And you have to say it, all of it. You have to write it down. You hold yourself accountable. The calendar function in Gmail is great because you can put when, where, right? And what. So it's really helpful, and it helps you avoid this procrastination. I should start eating salads. Practice more and have some fun with friends, right? So instead of should start, I eat salad. I'm making a salad for lunch tomorrow. And then get your butt to the grocery store and buy the salad stuff, and don't buy any of the other snacks, right? It's saying it, holding yourself accountable to doing it, setting a time frame when you're going to do it, and actioning it. Instead, I'm missing the gym. Instead, I can say, I'm working out daily at home. Here's a little thing that I've started doing because I haven't been working out. So as soon as this call's over, I'm going to hit the end meeting. I have a standing desk now, which is awesome, and I love it. And what I do, I hit end meeting, and I'll go down and I'll do 20 push-ups, just right here. So this thing is called a cue, all right? So when I feel like doing habit of comfort, instead I will pause and do new habit, right? So normally after a meeting, I would just go right to emails and go right to checking my phone. It's like, oh, it's been an hour. What messages do I have? What else do I have going on? But I didn't like that because I need time to reflect on what I've just done. And I need to give myself a pause period because we're talking about some pretty awesome stuff here. I want to reflect. How did that go? Did I feel good? Did I feel like I delivered value to you? Okay. Well, let me drop down. I'll do some push-ups. I'll come up. My blood will be flowing, circulating. I'll give myself a moment. And all of a sudden, over the last 3 weeks, I've created a new habit. I have 6 meetings a day. That's like 120 push-ups a day. That's awesome. You know, I can't promise I'm doing it every single time. I miss here and there. I'm human. But I'm seeing repetition, and that's good. So this cue is, you know, when I get stressed, I stress eat, right? I look for a snack. But instead, when I feel stressed, I take a deep breath and I go fill my water bottle and I sip the water bottle. Small changes like this, right? When I sit down and start doing my resume, I stop and I go on social media and I start checking and I start arguing with other strangers on the internet. Okay. So when I sit down and I feel the resistance of I don't want to do this, I pause. Maybe I take a deep breath. And I ask myself, why am I doing this? I want to get a job. Okay, I can do this. And then move forward. You're just pausing. Basically, you're creating pause periods to reflect instead of just reacting. You want to respond in life. You don't want to react in life. You don't want to be this very emotional person who's always reacting all the time, reacting to situations, out of control, right? When you pause, you give yourself control to respond. So Let me ask this question then. What is a cue that triggers a bad habit for you? And what is a new habit that you want that cue to trigger? What's a cue that triggers a bad habit? I tend to sleep when it's cold. Good. Okay. And do you have heat in your house? Is there some way you can regulate the temperature? Say, instead of sleeping, I'm going to go and change the temperature in the house, or maybe I'm going to put on a sweater and go back to doing what I was doing. When I'm stuck, for example, I can't think of what to write, right? So I can't think of what to write. So I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing. Well, instead, I'm going to start thinking of positive experiences in my life, things that I have done well before. Maybe just write a few of those down, even if they're not super relevant to the resume that I'm writing. I just need to get started. Yeah. Checking phones, right? Very easy one. It's like, oh, I have this thing to do. Oh, notification, notification. Well, maybe when you're doing something, it's okay. Before I even start, I'm going to put my phone in the kitchen. It's going to recharge. For 30 minutes, I'm going to do this task. I've taken the phone away. And yes, you have your computer, maybe. Yes, maybe there's internet, but you're going to say, if I feel the urge to switch to a different browser, I'm going to stop. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to refocus attention to what I'm supposed to be doing and understand that I'm feeling resistance towards this. It's just the awareness is going to make a huge difference, right? Yeah. Not getting immediate results from efforts. Yeah, that's a tough one. It's like, oh, like for me, it's practicing the piano. I want to play the piano, but I don't know the piece that well. I feel stupid, right? I feel like my ego is hurt. Okay. But I know that I'm not going to learn all at once. So maybe I break it up into a smaller, maybe I'll just learn 1 bar or 2 bars, and I'll learn them slow. And I'll learn the right hand and the left hand, and then I'll put it together for literally 4 seconds. And I've actually learned way more in that moment than I would have learned had I tried to keep doing what I was doing, right? So break things up into small actionable outcomes. So small steps we talked about. But I'm going to leave this for you all to think about, right? I want to, before we wrap up and open it up to questions, I'd like to celebrate some of the things that we learned here today and ask you, what small step can you take in the next 24 hours to start overcoming any resistance you might be facing to anything? Ideally, it's something to do with your jobs, job search, etc. That's the whole point of what Grad Job Hunt's about. But this, even though this isn't super job focused, it actually is. It really is. It is everything that gets in your way from doing the stuff you should be doing. So, what is one small step, the next piece of your climbing this mountain of resistance that you can take in the next 24 hours to overcome it? Write it down. Put it in the chat. Hold yourself accountable to it. Ruth is going to update her CV. Oh yeah, Ruth, where and when are you going to do that? Write it down. Put it in your calendar. Where and when? At the kitchen table, on my computer, right after this presentation. There's a pretty good CV workshop coming up, right? I think.
Yes, we do have a workshop, I think, on Tuesday.
Yeah, great. It could be attending that workshop. There you go, Ruth. I start scheduling my workout in exact same hours every day. All right, Maura, good. Put it on your calendar. Set your alarm. Leave your phone out of the bedroom. Maybe your gym clothes are over by your phone when the alarm goes off. Now you have to get them on, right? I'm going to start an online course to upgrade my CV. Elias, Europe language jobs next Tuesday. Join the event. Get started. I'm also doing a workshop later today at 4 p.m. Eastern time, so probably 10 p.m. Madrid time, on resume writing. You can sign up through LinkedIn. I'll do a small plug. Studying Spanish. Studying the Spanish Constitution. Start yoga, burn, update LinkedIn, post on social media, and so on. One thing, Sonia, one thing, one small thing, right? Something super actionable, right? If you're going to post on social media, what time? What's the purpose of it, right? Studying the Spanish Constitution. Why are you doing this? What piece are you going to learn? And really not reading the whole thing, but learning small pieces, maybe every week. Set it up. Go back to jogging sometime during the day, every day. It's not sometime during the day, Sandra. It's at this time, on this day, 3 days a week, maybe, on these 3 days, at this park, with this group. Get specific. I will keep my mobile away while working. Awesome. Leave it in the kitchen. Check back later. Yeah. Yeah, all at once. All at once is not very good because we think we can do all these things at once when really our mind can only do one thing. People mistake this term prioritize. It's like, I'm going to prioritize these 5 things. Well, you can't. A priority is actually one thing. So the actual definitions of a priority is one single thing that you do first, right? So if you're going to do all of them, maybe prioritize them first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and then give yourself the action associated. Okay, this is great. We have some great actions. We have about 10 minutes and would love to open it up to the entire audience to ask any questions. Doesn't have to be around resistance. It could be about anything related to the job search, anything that's coming up for you. General feedback, if you want to just share what's going on for you. And I'll encourage you to show your video if you feel comfortable and ask your question verbally. Bring it on. What is the max pages of a CV? We'll take this one very quickly. So, Ahmed, it depends on which country you're in, where you're applying. Depends on the industry. The most important part to understand for a CV is that if you're applying online through applicant tracking systems, they utilize keyword language. And that keyword language, I don't want to say, 3-4 page CVs is what you should have, but up to 2 pages is okay. And as long as the content you have there is relevant to the job description from a keyword point of view, and you can check this using tools like jobscan.co, or there's this thing called ResyMatch, ResyMatch.io. Really great tool. And it allows you to plug a job description and your resume and CV to see what's the keyword match score, right? But I think you want your resume to be relevant. You want at the top end to just show what it is that you do that resonates and relates to what you're applying for. So if it's a business analyst role, for example, well, maybe my title should just be target job business analyst, right? You're putting the keyword there. You're saying what it is that you're going for and why you're the right fit, and then go from there. So I'd say try to keep it ideally to under 2 pages, especially if you're earlier in your career. This weird rule, I don't know that I agree with it totally, but they say 1 page for every 10 years of experience. But I think 2 pages is more than enough. I have over 10 years experience. My CV is 1 page, and I've done a lot of stuff. But not everyone needs to know everything I've done. They just need to know what's relevant to them. Okay. Do you really have to tailor each CV? It's draining. So on this concept of staying relevant, well, Sonia, hopefully you're not targeting all these different roles, right? Hopefully you know what you're targeting. Hopefully you know the role function. Is it in marketing? Is it a marketing analyst? Great. But if it's a marketing analyst or a real estate investment person or in finance or IT, and you're trying to get all these jobs, that's not going to work. The resume needs to be tailored to the function that you're going for. And hopefully you feel confident about that direction, because then people will be like, oh, Sonia really wants this particular job. She knows how to talk about this particular job. She knows the industries that light her up and how this job role functions within these industries. And then your bullets stay consistent. And like if I'm applying for career director positions, I'm going to only have one resume, and I'm not going to tailor it that much, because those are the specific roles, and usually the responsibilities are fairly similar, right? So keep that in mind. You want to stay very targeted. What other questions do you have? Anything? Do I have advice for people who dropped out of university regarding job search, interviews, etc., maybe even how it makes them resistant? Well, it's the narrative you tell yourself, right? Because society is like, oh, you're a college dropout, that's not a good thing, and you believe that, then it's going to get in your way from a resistance point of view. But if you dropped out of school and you actually spend all your time learning music composition and all these technical tools, or you spend your time diving into software engineering or coding, and you're actually taking time to learn something on your own time or in a way that actually resonates with you, because everyone has a different learning style. Just because the school systems and all over the world have a particular way of teaching, they leave out almost 80% of the people from a true learning experience. So it's not your fault. It's not their fault if they drop out. Maybe it's just not the right way to learn for them. So you have to discover a way of learning and what you might like to learn, and really go all in on that, right? But that's not just you're not just gonna figure it out. You have to research. You have to try. Go get an apprenticeship. See if you can take a part-time job working somewhere that you think you might be interested in, right? Challenge yourself to find and discover your interests and evolve those things. And when it comes to the job search, if people are like, well, where did you go to uni? It's like, well, I had been going to this uni, but honestly, the way that they taught and the materials and what I was learning didn't resonate with my style of learning. So I actually took it upon myself to teach myself SQL, teach myself, all these technical things or these soft skills, or take this other job, which taught me X, Y, and Z, which actually is a lot more than I got from uni, which is actually just a box that most people need to check. And I hope that this organization sees me as someone who is resilient, adaptable, willing to learn, and willing to challenge existing norms, who thinks outside of the box. You can't tell yourself the negative stories, because if someone's like, yeah, you don't have a degree, and you're like, I know. Oh my God, you got to stand up for yourself, right? You dropped out for a reason. Own that. Own it. Own it. Do targeted resumes make sense for recent grads? Yeah. Yes. Because if I'm an employer and you don't know what you want, and you're coming to me like, I'll do anything, I don't want you. It's like everything in life. It's like, what do you want to eat? I don't know. Whatever you want to eat. That's the most annoying thing to hear from a partner or a friend. know what you want, because then you'll get what you actually want, right? You actually have a choice here. It's not like, oh, who's going to hire me? Who am I going to be worthy enough to work for? Change that mindset. Even as a recent graduate, you have a choice. You have a choice. So yes, targeted. What do you want? Write things in that way. Go for those jobs. Am I reducing my chance of more opportunities? Yeah, but good, because those opportunities don't suit you anyway. I hope that's helpful. That's right. Nahla. Nahla wahidi. So, yeah, I'm Lebanese, by the way. I speak Arabic. It's my background and heritage. I am American and was born here, but also have French nationality and Spanish girlfriend. So I'm learning Spanish. So trying to be as international as all these great people here. We have 3 minutes. We can definitely take a few more questions. Sonia asks, if you prioritize, then what happens to multitasking? Well, Sonia, my theory of multitasking is it doesn't exist. You can try to think about 2 things at the same time. Try it. Try it right now. You can't. You cannot physically think about 2 things at the same time. So multitasking doesn't really exist, because like really you're going from task to task to task to task. You're doing things, but not at the same time. You're taking away from something else that you're doing to do something else. Right? So change the relationship you have with this idea of multitasking and what society tells us. Oh, if you can do so many things at once, you're successful, you're going to be great. Do what works for you. If you don't mind jumping from thing to thing, great. But actually it's taking you away from something that's more important. So I'll challenge that, right? Okay, also LinkedIn, you can upload your resume. If you have many skills which fit in with numerous job offers, is it okay to have a general CV? You can do whatever you want. I have 12 CVs. I have 12. You know, back when I was job seeking, I had one for sales, one for recruiting, one for finance, one for accounting, one for coaching, you know, one for a lot of different things. General, it's good to have a general CV that you can pull experiences from into more targeted resumes. I'm not saying you can't have a general resume, sure. But you're doing yourself a disservice by using that resume for random jobs. If there is one advice that you can give for a fresh graduate, what would it be? Oh man. Um, yeah, I think the idea of self-compassion is the most important thing. So a lot of things are going to make the world seem pretty hard, and you're going to get hard on yourself. But when you do, think of yourself as a little kid. Think of a 5-year-old version of yourself and imagine yourself crying. And then go to that person, close your eyes, go to this little kid that's you, and you give it a hug and you say, it's going to be okay. Everything's going to work out. We got here, didn't we? And through that, I think you're going to heal a lot of things that are going to support your growth as a leader, your growth as a future, a future colleague, as a future partner to a spouse, maybe a future parent to your children one day. So it's not like career advice, but actually it is. Actually, it's really important because so many leaders are so disconnected from themselves that they create tension for their entire teams. And if you can start doing this work now, everything will be better for everyone else, including yourself. So, all right, I'll answer one more from Ruth here. I'm finishing up with my master's in marketing and I'm starting the job search. Any tips for how to get noticed by potential employers? Awesome. So, master's in marketing, get specific on what you're doing in marketing. Behavioral marketing, marketing operations. Is it tradition? Is it social media marketing, digital marketing? Is it web analytics? Is it SEO? Right? Is it content? There's so many things. So what is it that you want to focus on? Right? Get focused within marketing, because marketing is not just an industry, it's a function, but there are multiple functions within marketing. Then you want to start networking with people in that space, companies that I'm interested in. Oh, I like Facebook. I like Salesforce. Well, let's talk to some people there. Reach out to them. Hey, I'm a recent graduate. I would love the chance to pick your brain on the work that you do. I'm thinking about focusing on this area. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Not, oh, I need a job. Can you help me get a job? No one wants to hear that. Imagine you're at a bar or a pub and someone comes up to you. It's like, hey, you want to go home with me? All right. That's not going to go over very well, right? Get to know the person. Be curious about them. Give them the space to talk about the work that they do. And you are starting to get to know them, get to know the field, get to know their challenges. And through that, maybe you're going to have things that you might want to write about or research further. Then you can write back, oh, you said this, I researched this. Could this be a solution for what you were looking for? All of a sudden, I'm pretty impressed by you who I just had this meeting with. And all of a sudden, I might tell you about opportunities or not, but I might. And if you keep doing these types of things, you'll get more information, you'll have deeper research. Why should you just be researching for your master's and your thesis? How about your research for your job and your future? So many people are like, oh, but I should just get a job. Why is it any different? Like at work, we spend 10 hours a day researching, doing certain things, but you don't focus that time on your job search. Reframe, check it out, try doing a little bit more. All right. I think that's it, right? I think, time-wise, that's it. I have one more slide for you here. Oh, no, this isn't the slide I wanted. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the chat a resource, a free resource on interviewing that me and my business partner just released. All you have to do is put your name and email, and you'll be able to access this mock interview comprehensive guide. So it'll help you build your stories. It'll help you answer questions on your elevator pitch. It'll help you write impactful follow-ups. It'll help you know exactly the right questions to ask. And outside of that, I hope that you got a lot of value from this. I hope that you start talking to yourself different. I hope that you build an awareness around these feelings of resistance. And I just want to thank Europe Language Jobs for inviting me here to get to widen and cast my ripple out yet again across the globe in a way that hopefully will support everyone in leveling up in their life and their careers.
Thank you very much, Eli. I think we all loved your presentation. I'm sure we did learn a lot, and I hope you guys do take that at home to reflect. So thank you very much for participating. Yeah, as Eli even mentioned, we do have a workshop coming up if you are interested in CVs and cover letters. It will be on Tuesday, May 25, and I think Clara just dropped the link. So if you guys are interested, just subscribe. And thank you once again. If you guys have also any questions, feel free to either connect with Eli on LinkedIn or shoot us an email, and candidates at Europe Language Jobs is also there in the chat, and we will be very happy to forward any questions to Eli. Thank you guys again.
Thank you all so much.